Namaste, everybody, and welcome to today's program on meat and Ayurveda. You know, eating meat is one of those controversial subjects, especially among those who are interested in Ayurvedic medicine. It brings up such a host of questions and controversies, whether or not we should be vegetarian, whether or not we should be vegan, or is it okay to eat meat? And if it's not, why not? What does Ayurveda really have to contribute to the conversation? Well, let me just start off with telling you that from an Ayurvedic perspective, we do try to avoid meat. We try to avoid meat as a food because meat comes with many complications for our bodies and our minds. But before we get to that, I want to share with you that while we tend to not use meat as a food, we do use meat and other animal products as medicines. And I think that's the first most important thing that we should talk about. Is meat a food or a medicine? Ayurveda teaches that meat has many benefits for the body. It can be utilized in order to build strength in the body, especially beneficial for people who are weak, people who are having situations where their muscles are wasting, where their nervous system is becoming too stressed out. So if you have severe neurological imbalances, muscular imbalances, even mental imbalances, meat can actually be a good medicine. Meat has the quality of stability. And so it brings stability to the body. It brings heaviness to the body. It brings greater density to the body. It brings greater nourishment to the body. And that sounds great. And it is as a medicine if you need it. But if you don't need it, then you might say to yourself, well, with all those benefits, why wouldn't I just eat it all the time? Ayurveda teaches that meat also comes with the karma of consuming the meat. Now, this karma is the result of causing harm to animals. Now, you might say to yourself, well, we always cause harm to animals. We always are competing in this world with other animals. What's the harm of killing an animal? Well, from an Ayurvedic perspective, we recognize the divinity within all of creation, and we want to cause as little harm as possible. It's called the practice of ahimsa. And Ayurveda teaches that ahimsa, or non-violence, is essential to our health and our well-being. In fact, it's essential to creating the highest level of stability within our bodies and within our minds. It's one of the factors that builds ojas. And ojas is that which stabilizes the body, stabilizes the immune system, and brings us contentment, deeper inner peace and bliss. So it's very, very important. Now, karma occurs when we cause unnecessary harm. Unnecessary harm means that it's for selfish reasons. I don't need to kill the animal, but I just do it anyway and I consume it. If there's something else that can be consumed that will nourish us, Ayurveda says it's better to consume something else. But if there's nothing else that we can consume that will nourish us, well, then we do have to nourish ourselves so that we're able to function in the world and perform our duty and our responsibilities in the world. But if there's a choice, if you can be well without consuming meat, Ayurveda says that's the first choice to make. Why kill if you don't have to? This is ultimately the reason why in Ayurveda we value a vegetarian lifestyle. Now, the next question is, if you are going to eat meat because you need the meat, you need it to balance yourself, what kind of meats should you eat? Which ones are the best meats and which ones are the worst meats to eat? Well, that depends upon which dosha is disturbed inside of the body and the mind. When vata dosha is disturbed, the best meats are going to be those that are heating and those that are heavy. And this includes your heavy dark meats, your red meats, for instance. Red meat balances the vata dosha. And even the dark meat of fowl, of birds, will also balance the vata dosha. It tends to have more fat in the meat. And so fatty meats are better for vata. It's going to bring the stability, the grounding, the oiliness, the nourishment that is needed to balance vata dosha. If you have a pitta imbalance in your body and you also need meat because maybe your body is depleted from all that pitta and you're exhausted, you're burned out, and you need the meat in order to thrive, well, then cooling meats are going to be beneficial. And these meats tend to be the white meats of fowl, of birds, as well as freshwater fishes. Now, if you have a kapha imbalance in your body, you need to have the lighter meats. And the lightest meat of all is fish. And freshwater fish would be much better than saltwater fish, because kapha does not do well consuming salt. But other than that, no meat is really necessary for kapha. In fact, people with a kapha nature or kapha imbalance thrive on a vegetarian or even a vegan diet. People with a pitta nature generally tend to do just fine on a vegetarian or vegan diet. But those with a vata nature or a vata imbalance tend to struggle. They have to use a lot more awareness about the foods they eat, which means that to be a successful vegetarian or a successful vegan and having a vata nature is going to mean taking in enough nourishing, heavy alternative foods, things like nuts and grains and oils. But if you are careful, you can thrive as a vegetarian, you can thrive as a vegan, and you can do this practicing Ayurveda. Many blessings to you on your journey toward optimum health. May you take into your body that which you need to nourish yourself. And may it make your mind and your body clear. That clarity is essential to your well-being. Meat, when it is properly digested, will create clarity. But it's very, very difficult to digest. Because it's difficult to digest, it tends to produce ama. And that ama becomes a toxin in the body. So this is another reason why we generally do not recommend consuming meat in the body, because it's going to create this inner toxin. You know, studies today are showing that meat consumption is associated with an increased rate of cancer. So the Western science is catching up to the Ayurvedic knowledge as well. Meat is what we call tamasic in Ayurveda, which means it dulls the mind. So to keep the mind light and clear, to keep the body light and clear, ultimately it is healthier to be a vegetarian or a vegan than to consume meat. But again, remember, if you need it as a medicine, you need it as a medicine. If it allows you to perform your service to this world, the reason why you're here is to perform service. And if it helps you, then you may need to consume meat. Many blessings to you on your journey toward optimum health. May you always be well. Namaste.